What is going on, everyone? Today I'm going to be giving you my non-spoiler review for Predator Badlands. I'm a pretty big fan of the Predator franchise. I actually reacted to majority of the franchise on this channel. That includes the original film, the sequels, at least a couple of the sequels, the Alien vs. Predator movies, and I enjoyed pretty much all of them except for maybe the Predator from 2018. That was the only one where I was like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this, but I enjoyed majority of them. And of course, Dan Trachtenberg was returning for this film. He did Prey as well as the recent animated Predator movie, which I haven't watched yet, but I was really looking forward to this movie because it looks really different and unique. And so I got a lot of thoughts on it. Let's go through the positives, the negatives, and then we'll give the film a rating out of 10. Starting off with the positives, like I said, this is very unique for a Predator film, and some people aren't gonna like that. I already know there's gonna be people going into this movie that are just ready to hate on it because it is so different and it might go against what people want out of a Predator movie, because normally you go into a Predator movie wanting to see a Predator kill a bunch of people, right? Kill a bunch of humans and the humans fight back, and usually they're the villain. They're not meant to be this main character who has a bunch of dialogue and talks to people and has feelings and emotions and all that. So this movie is very much going against what you would normally consider to be a Predator movie. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, this franchise has existed for over 40 years now. It's good to get some variety. Now, if they decide to completely change all Predator movies going forward to where they're all going to be like this, well, then I'll have a problem. But just a one-off movie doing it like this, maybe even a sequel, who knows? I love that. I think that's a really cool and unique thing to do. You can't just keep doing the same thing again and again and again. I always defend franchises doing crazy, unique things when you get to a certain point in it, because you can't just keep doing the same thing. It's one of the reasons I loved Jason X. They send Jason to space. People thought that was ridiculous. It was the 10th film. You can't have him in Camp Crystal Lake for every movie. And it was really interesting getting to see a Predator actually have personality to him. He actually talks. He doesn't talk, he doesn't speak English, but he does talk in the movie. He talks in his own language, and he has a lot of interesting interactions with a variety of characters. No humans, though. There's not a single human in this movie. There's synthetics, there's creatures, and that's it. You don't really have anything else. And I think that was really different. It was interesting. The main Predator in this film, his name is Deck, and he is really, really cool. He's really awesome. I actually love his design. I know a lot of people didn't like his design when they first saw him in the trailer, but it grew on me throughout the film. I really started enjoying the way he looks. And his journey here to basically prove himself to his clan is something that starts the film's main plot. You want to see him prove himself, right? And the whole idea of him proving himself is finding this big creature on this planet and killing it to bring it back. And that's pretty much the setup. But along the way, he does change quite a bit. There's quite a lot of development. Obviously not going to go into spoilers, but a lot of those changes were pretty interesting. And just seeing him interact with certain people, especially Elle Fanning's Ty, I believe that was her name, Ty or Thigh or something like that. She was a fantastic character. She is a synthetic from the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, and I loved her character in this movie because she was so fun, so energetic, genuinely a lot of good comedy with her. I've always mentioned this before. You have to do a good job with balancing comedy and the serious moments in a film. And I think they did a pretty good job here because, yeah, there's a lot of comedy, but it never felt like it intercut with the emotional moments and the moments that are meant to be more serious. And it's not like they turn Deck, who is of course the Predator, into this ridiculous goofy character just because there is a comedic character in the movie. They do a good job playing off of each other because he's like really dark and serious all the time and she's the complete opposite, and I think that's a nice balance. There's also another character in this which I'm not going to go into specifics about who this character is, but also enjoyed that character's presence in the movie. In terms of action, it's incredible. There are some insane sequences. I would say this is very comparable to being just like a video game. They could have honestly taken this entire plot, the structure of it, the characters, and just turned it into a video game, and it would have worked perfectly. Like, it is the definitive video game movie, you know what I mean when I say that. Like, it's not actually based off a video game, but it just feels like you're watching a video game. And I think that's really cool. I mean, there's quite literally like 4 different sequences that could easily be boss fights in a video game, like just the way they're set up. So I thought that was pretty cool, but the action is very grand scale. It's really crazy. And like I said, it's usually in a boss fight type dynamic. It's definitely well directed as well. I mean, I was expecting it to be well directed after watching Prey. Dan Trachtenberg just is a fantastic at directing action sequences. And when it comes to the visual effects and the CGI, it was outstanding. I mean, I would have liked some more practical effects here or there. I feel like this movie does rely on CGI quite a bit, and obviously, like with the original Predator film, there was a lot more practical effects with the actual Predator design. But I still really loved how the CGI looks in this film. But it's not like the entire Predator design is CGI. It's just like the face area that is. A lot of the other parts are practical, but it still looks incredible. Like, it is genuinely some of the best CGI I've seen in quite a while. I would say it's not necessarily as good as something like Avatar, but it's honestly comparable. Like, it is really damn good. I also quite liked the connections to the Alien franchise, like with the Weyland-Yutani Corporation being involved. There was parts of this movie where I genuinely was thinking to myself, this could have been an Alien versus Predator movie. It really could have been if they just changed around the plot a bit, added the aliens obviously, and you could have easily turned this into an Alien versus Predator. I'm glad they didn't though. I think it was interesting the way it was executed. I hope maybe this could lead to doing some Alien versus Predator movies in the franchise. I have heard Dan Trachtenberg talk about the possibility of them doing one, and I definitely think you could do a lot out of that. And it's not just thrown in there for fan service. Like, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation plays a large role in this film, so it definitely works. It's not forced whatsoever, and I would love to see more of that going forward. And lastly, I got to give a shout out to the soundtrack because oh my god, it was so good. It was composed by Sarah Schackener, I think is her name, and she is an incredible composer. She actually composed quite a few Call of Duty games, and I'm a big fan of the Call of Duty franchise, so I already knew I was going to enjoy her music because I think some of the games that she composed in Call of Duty have some of the best soundtracks in that franchise, and you can feel it, man. Every scene has like just a stellar score, so I definitely am excited to listen to that later on and just get to re-listen to some of the themes from the film, but it was really great. But now let's get to the negatives. There's a few negatives I can definitely talk about for this movie that hold it back a little bit. First of all, I was talking about how Deck changes in this film, and I don't want to go into specifics because obviously that would be spoilers, but I do think some of the changes he goes through do feel a little bit rushed. Like, it felt a little bit too quick and sudden. And maybe that was just me not doing a great job of noticing the changes, but some of them I was like, I don't see that being something that he just suddenly changed his mind on. And I think that is maybe because the movie wasn't as long as maybe it should have been. It was a pretty short movie, I would say. So if it was a little bit longer, maybe it could have added a little bit more depth to those scenes, and it could have resulted in me understanding his change a little bit better. But I do think some of it was a bit sudden. So I feel like they either should have made him change less, or maybe just found more scenes to interject in the film to make it feel more like a gradual change in his character. It was just too sudden for me personally, and I think that was definitely an issue, although I do like the changes that they gave him. There's one trope this movie does that I don't really think is a bad thing necessarily, because it's definitely not like, you know, poorly written. It's just a thing that I think too many movies do nowadays. I'm gonna try my best to say this without spoiling stuff, but I feel like no matter how I say it, it might feel a little spoilery. So if you don't want to hear like anything that even could be slightly considered a spoiler, skip ahead a minute. So the trope I'm talking about is the idea of having specific scary creatures that are meant to be terrifying, or meant to be things that, you know, you're going to be fearful of because they're obviously very deadly. And then as you go throughout the film, you learn that actually this creature isn't as deadly as it appeared. Maybe there's more emotions behind the creature. Maybe it's a little bit less scary than you once thought, especially if you're closer to it and you're friendlier with it. That trope has been done so many times to death at this point that it kind of just feels like unsatisfying, if that makes any sense, especially in a Predator movie. It was like, okay, like, I don't know if that works as well in a Predator movie, especially given the fact that this same character killed a lot of creatures just, you know, without a thought in the same movie, and then he'll kind of draw the line at this one creature because he, I guess, changes quick. It's weird. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to go into specifics there though, because obviously it's going to be spoiling stuff, but I feel like that trope specifically I don't think worked for this movie. I get it's like this cute sort of thing that I understand it, but it's not, it doesn't work for a Predator movie as well as I feel like it would for other films. Like, I think it works really well with like a Jurassic Park movie. Like, that movie does this trope really well. I don't know if this movie handled it as well as it should have. It felt kind of like, okay, like I don't know, it doesn't really work. And I mentioned this before, but I do think the movie was a little bit short. I think it could have been definitely a bit longer, and I would have liked it a lot more. So that's going to do it for this review. I'm going to give this movie a rating of an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I think it could have definitely been way better. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Predator movie. I definitely do prefer the original 1987 film. I maybe even prefer Prey. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of between Prey and Predator Badlands for the second best Predator movie. And then obviously there's a bunch of other ones that are varying in quality, I guess. I like Predators quite a bit from 2010. That's a pretty good one. Predator 2 is actually kind of underrated as well. So I tend to prefer the Alien franchise over Predator, though. I've noticed I usually like those movies a little bit more, but it kind of just depends, I guess, because I think it's definitely a little balanced. I think there's probably equally as many good ones as there is bad ones, but Alien, really loved it this year because of the Alien series. I thought the Alien series was incredible. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will see you all in my next one. Peace out.